Some of you have been asking me to bring my wife on this channel to talk more from a woman's perspective on how we met and how we knew that God was telling us, you two need to get married. And so you can always hear from me, but what better way to share about this story than directly coming from a godly woman herself? So this is my wife, Allie, and it's her first time doing a video with me on this YouTube channel. And so I want to start by asking when we first met and then when we kept re-meeting and a year later, what felt different the year after when we first met? And how was God telling you that we need to actually do something here with starting a journey together?
So the first night that we re-met, I was out and, really just standing there, and something just kind of came over me, and I said, God, like, I'm okay with being single for the rest of my life. And there was a peace and kind of a weight lifted off of my shoulders. And as cheesy as it might sound, a few minutes later, we ran into each other, and kind of everything else in the room paused, and we started talking, and then went to coffee after that. And I had, in the months up to it, I had every week at church, I had surrendered to God and just said, God, my life is in your hands, and whatever you want, whatever your plan is for my life, it's okay, and I'm perfectly happy and at peace with it. So when he came into my life again, when we ran into each other, especially the same night that I had kind of said, God, I'm good where I'm at, I think was kind of the first throat punch, I guess, if you want to call it that, that God was nudging me that he's putting someone in your life for a reason. And then after we went and had coffee, and then about a month later, we went on a hike to Sedona. It was at the top of that 4 hour one, supposed to be 1 hour, turned into a 4 hour hike, that I was looking out at everything, and the beautiful view, and just, you know, being in awe of everything that God had created around me, and really just realized that the person that I was with, God put here as well. And he was the one that was supposed to be in my life, and I was supposed to be sharing the rest of all of these wondrous views with him.
Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, it's just crazy how God's timing works. And to kind of clarify too, with our hike in Sedona and just when we re-met again, it wasn't this weird honeymoon phase or all about these good vibes and a lot of what the world promises. It was actually in a backwards direction, which is interesting for a good reason. The first time we met the year prior, when the timing wasn't right, we were leading with the attraction and the experiences. And this time around, far from boring, we still really, really valued each other's company. And the difference is that it wasn't about this feel good honeymoon phase, but there was this unexplainable peace, right? And it comes even from Philippians 4:7, that peace that transcends all understanding. And I had heard about this verse, and in my single life, finally had come to peace with it, kind of like how you did, because we had met a year prior. And sure, the chemistry was there, a lot of our core values were there, we were both believers, but there was something about the timing that just didn't seem right. And it was this internal struggle, right? It was something I didn't want to let go of, but God was nudging me and telling me, hey, this is not going to be the right time. And you've always been leading with your decision making when it comes to seeking someone. And it was the first time ever where I came to this realization that I'm letting relationships distract me. And so we had met at a country dancing place, but for the next year or so until we finally started dating, we kept running into each other. Sometimes it was a quick hi, other times I would just pretend like I didn't see you. I mean, she was my kryptonite, she still is, and I thought in my head, if the timing wasn't right, it's never going to happen. I had a very black and white approach to it, but as we all know, sometimes God can challenge what we believe. And if you have a checklist, sometimes you got to throw it away because God has something better planned for you. And so that second time around, when I saw you at this place, there was this piece to you I had never seen before. And you had explained to me that you no longer had an interest in meeting someone, and you were coming to this realization that you might be single the rest of your life, and you are okay with that. And similarly for me, that was something I had come to terms with on my own journey with the Lord. And so when we had stopped looking and we crossed paths again, that was actually God giving us a green light. So you suggested coffee. And in my head, I had my guards up because I thought, hey, we've tried this before. I have had a history of getting preoccupied by relationships and struggling with that, but prayed about it. And God tells us this, right? I think it's Matthew 6:33, seek first the kingdom and all these things will be added onto you. It was the first time ever where the couple months prior to us meeting again, I was starting to really surrender myself to the Holy Spirit when there was opportunity, even if I thought it was something where I was attracted to her, etc. I finally surrendered my pride and my choosing and went to the Holy Spirit. And he was basically saying, no, stay single because I have something better planned for you, which leads into the next thing I want to ask you. When you look at our marriage compared to when you used to be married, the past relationships you have had, what stands out to you differently that tells you this is a God thing, not just two people that are really into each other that have a lot of chemistry and shared values?
So, first of all, I think from the very start, our relationship has always been very God focused, and that has always been our foundation from when we first started dating. Again, we went to your church, we went to my church. We were really trying to figure out which, was our church home and where we wanted to be together. And I think that number one, I did not have that in my previous marriage at all. So that was a huge change for me. And I think also leading. I'd never been in a relationship where I had a partner that was a true leader in not only like in the relationship, but in life. And it was everything from, opening the car door for me, which I had never had, to planning dates and things, and that might sound silly and little, but for me, I was in a relationship where I was always in control, and God kind of knocked me down and said, "Stop. You need to not be in control." You know, I am in control, and so that was hard for me to change and to let not only God be in control, but then you be a true man and a true leader, in a godly leader in our relationship and in our marriage. So I think that that's a huge difference and something that I didn't really even know existed.
And that's something that you just mentioned that really stands out to me is this whole I have to be in control. And me being an engineer, I've always tried to be in control. And it even showed up in my past marriage, my past relationships where I thought I had the answers. I thought anything that I run into that's a problem I can solve like an engineer would. And looking back, my past marriage was not God honoring. God did not give me the blessing to say, go and marry this girl. That was my own doing. And then I expected God to bless it after the fact. And just the way I was living life, I called myself Christian, but the spiritual walk wasn't there. The leadership wasn't there. And so one of the things I'm grateful for is that God allowed me to fall flat on my face because everything I learned from my past and him humbling me, it prepared me for you to basically know how to lead. I didn't know how to lead growing up. I didn't grow up in a house that role modeled that. And so there was a lot of growing up to do that God was showing me that goes beyond the fact that you might think you have a good day job or you go to the gym. From a kingdom perspective, all of that is meaningless if you don't have the Holy Spirit at the center of your life and you don't know how to surrender to him. So there's a lot I had to work on with therapy, with spiritual maturity. I talk about a lot of this and some of the things you can do too. Check out the husband protocol. It's pinned in the description below. But, something that also stands out to me too is I feel like with you, unlike when I was married before in past relationships, I know you really value and love me for me. And I feel the same about you too, because I just did a video on this you can check out from a few days ago for you men over 40, where we talk about one of the big dilemmas we have in society today, more so for older men, but it can happen for any age, is you're worried that marriage and relationships are performative. You have to make a certain number of dollars a year. You have to win her approval in unhealthy ways. And I've been in those relationships before where you always feel like you're sleeping with one eye open or you're trying to chase this moving target that you're not good enough. But God had to show me first that he validates you. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are worth more than many sparrows. And once I became right from what God says I am, and my beliefs came from him, and my security came from him, that prepared me for someone like you, where, unlike my past marriage, past relationships, I used to be attracted to projects, someone I have to fix. And the old me years ago, if I had met someone like you, I would have said there was no attraction or chemistry because there was no fixing needing to be done. And so there were a lot of things I had to let go of and to heal. And by God's grace, He can take the past mistakes, the past shame, the past beliefs that you've created for yourself, and Jesus can throw all that away and restore you again. And there's a verse on this, right? A righteous man will fall 7 times and he gets back up again. And that's something I want for all of you guys in this channel is it doesn't matter what your past is. When you are surrendered to the Holy Spirit today, as long as you have breath in your lungs, there is never a day where you still can't do things God's way. And it can be a tremendous blessing for you. If marriage happened to a guy like me, to an awesome wife like you, it can happen for any of you. Just stay faithful. Don't give up on the hope, even when it's tough, even when you've been waiting a decade, 2 decades, whatever it is, in God's timing on everything, right? Jeremiah 29:11. And if you guys want to see more content like this, where my wife is here with me on the channel, drop some comments below. We can discuss it and we can see if we can answer some, whether it's in a video that's pre-recorded like this or in a future live. And speaking of that, if you value what you see here, smash that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. So when we do make that content in the future, you guys won't miss out on it. God bless.